Hello, Africa Week 2020. Welcome back. I hope you refreshed your pages. We're so sorry. We're running a little late, but that's what's real. And we're here. We're here talking today about dance and movement as medicine for the people and fuel for the protest. We're going to get into the questions. What role does dance play in helping world change under pressure? And one of the reasons that we decided to do this panel is because we're looking at revolutions all over the world. And I think, honestly, that's because we're all going through personal revolutions within ourselves. That's how outward revolutions happen. And one of the ways that we can express ourselves is through our creative arts, through our movement, our dance, our music. And we've had a lot of music today. We've talked a lot about music and rhythms and lyricism and storytelling. And I felt like it was important for us to now talk about movement, dance. We have martial artists here today as well. And so I'm going to welcome in our panelists, and we're going to dive right into this subject. Yes, for those of you who are following along so well with us today, we are going to stop at 2 hours. So we're not going to go over. We are going to stop at 2 hours. I'm going to welcome everybody in. For those of you in the comments, say where you're from, ask your questions. I will direct your questions to our panelists. I'll introduce each panelist and they can all tell us a little bit about themselves. So we'll start with Treneti Brown. Hello. How's it going? Please,
it's going good.
What's alive in you, and how what's alive in you around this what you do, your work, and what's alive in you around this subject.
Yes, so dance has been like a big part of my journey through this incarnation in every single way. I grew up in inner city Chicago, and without any known connection to our ancestral bloodlines, we naturally daily gathered in circles and had ciphers and danced and had battles and just like cheered each other on and supported each other and had like cathartic release in that way on a daily basis. And dance was, when I was younger, with everything that was going on in my life and just the kind of creature that I am, it took me a long time to develop to the point in myself where I am now, where expressing myself through my voice is my primary conduit of energy. But before that part of me really crystallized, dance was the way that I processed through all of the confusing emotions that I experienced as a youth growing up in inner city Chicago. And so I pursued it professionally, and I didn't even know that I was healing myself with it until I got into college. And I went to Columbia College, Chicago, and studied somatic movement. And if anyone doesn't know what that is, it's like going really deep into your body and listening to the wisdom that lives in your body through the process of dance. And so yeah, like dance has always been this thing that has provided healing for me and gave me like the opportunity and outlet to create healing spaces for other people. And I feel like it's a powerful tool for revolution because it allows space for all aspects of the warrior and all aspects of the like emotional waters of ourselves. So you can process your anger and your rage, but you can also become really like intimate with your sensuality, and you can also process your sadness and your grief and your joy and conjure bliss, and it just gives a tapestry for really transcending any emotion.
I'm muted. That's awesome. I think one of the most revolutionary things we can do is heal ourselves. And right, because we're taught to be dependent on all the outside forces to do that. So the fact that you have rediscovered this in the way that makes sense for you in your journey, and you teach it to other people, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's I think that's a dance revolution.
Yeah, for me, it's all about the tools becoming empowered in others and not like holding on to them and being just like selfish with them. Or it's like pass the tools along. People need to be independent, able to process things on their own.
have you found, because now you and I you hail from Chicago, but you and I both live in Portland and connected just through Facebook Lives and realizing that we have some like energy and maybe some alignments. And we're sort of in the center of, if not in the center, but around this sort of like explosive unrest here in Portland. And so, and a lot of conflict around Black Lives Movement. And I wonder, have you done or worked with anyone who is sort of suffering or is carrying an emotional or a physical ailment from going through that journey? Have you been able to help people with that, or maybe even yourself? I don't know.
With the protests specifically, or
well, whether they're going through the protest or they're heavy into the active, consciously and heavily into the activism, specifically around Black Lives Movement here in Portland.
Yeah, I'm currently teaching a course called Vocal Empowerment for Dancers, and I'm helping some dance artists unlock their creative potential and ability to express themselves through their voices. And one of the beings that is in that course has been involved in some of the like activism inside of Portland, and I have been able to help them find comfortability in their own center and in their own beliefs, and in understanding and owning when things that are going on in that movement don't align with who they actually truly are as a being, and how their energy is wanting to, in its greatest space, to incarnate and occupy space in this world. And I think that's really important. I think hive mind movements can be really destructive when they are not honoring like the sovereign needs of each being that's present within it. And so that's pretty much been like the spectrum upon which I've been involved in that way, beyond like just sharing my voice in live streams and things like that. But yeah, that's pretty much been my spectrum.
Thank you so much. And I've been watching your, I catch some of your feeds, and if those of you can scroll down in our Africa Week 2020 Facebook page and catch Treneti Brown and how to connect with her. And she has some really powerful Facebook Lives where she actually you talk about some of this stuff in your Facebook Lives. And so it's I really appreciate that you're using this sort of medicine you've found in both vibration and in dance expression.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's go to an introduction with Malaz Elgemiabby. Yes?
Hi. Yes, that's true. That's right. Malaz Elgemiabby.
Hi. Malaz, please tell us. Thank you for being here. And while you're working with your power tools, I love it. I'm so curious about what you're making.
I'm converting a van into a mobile storytelling studio.
Yes, which you're going to talk all about tomorrow. Come back, everybody, tomorrow. She's going to be talking all about this van. I don't even want to say the name because I don't want to give it away. But yes.
It means grandma. Let's figure out what it means. Grandma.
Okay. Okay. So I've been hearing about this all week from Dima. I'm so excited to be in that chat tomorrow. So that will be happening on the page, everyone, if you're interested and you're intrigued about these power tools and what Malaz is making. Malaz, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us what's alive in you when we're talking about this subject of dance being a means of medicine and protest. Tell us about your work around that, because I know you already have work around this subject.
Yeah. Well, I grew up around dancing. I grew up with the legacy of my grandmother, which is the one I'm honoring by the naming the van after her. She comes from a northern part of Sudan. And there is this story that was told to us over and over when we were kids, that the party in her village wouldn't start. The party wouldn't start before she comes and she does this one dance. and that is the sort of like the sign, or like for people to now, the permission to people to party. And it's the pigeon dance, and then she does this with we call it shabbal. So she would walk in very slow, like a pigeon, like going in like a pigeon, in kind of in a royal walk, but it's a dance. And then she would go to the singer or the performer, and then she does what's called like shabbal, and that is when the party starts. So when growing up, dance became sort of like the ritual for us when we leave the house, when we enter the house, when we come back from school. That's the first thing we do. We line up, me and my sister, my brother, and we start like that walking. It's people who our neighbor probably thought we're crazy, but we were like, my grandmother lived with us in the house, so we were kind of like paying attribute to her every time. That's like, hey, announcing we are here. The day is about to start. And so I grew up with an inherent love for dance, and kind of a sense of deep history behind it. There's this ancestral knowledge, and I've seen drawings on inside of pyramids of women from 4,000 years ago doing the same shabbal movement that my grandmother does.
Wow.
So that's just sort of like was kind of almost like the same way you learn language, you also learn how to communicate with your body, how to signal to other things. This is what like a kind of a language. And then it shifted from that a little bit when growing up in Sudan, in a very conservative society that was for the last 30 years ruled by conservative Islamists. My father, who ironically was also an Islamist, formed a cultural dance band where girls could dance. So that was a form of protest. That was kind of my first understanding that my father, who kind of like lived in that bridge between conservatism and feminism, he used dance as a form to protest that sort of like conservative rules that suddenly like enveloped the whole country. So I danced throughout my childhood in this cultural band that also helped me to kind of like really not just learn dance from other regions of Sudan, but dance with dancers from other regions of Sudan. And that in itself was very significant because in Sudan we have a problem with racism, and might not be racism as a different race. Let's say it's different ethnic group or different tribes, but then it's so rampant it caused the country to go into a war and a genocide and ethnic cleansing. So to have that moments when we were dancing, not dancing to each other's song, but dancing together on each other's songs. So that was a form for me, was a protest to the act of racism, the concept of racism, where you have people from different ethnic groups totally segregated. And that was kind of one thing that equalizes all of us at that moment, at that stage, at that rehearsal, at that songs, at that we were equal in that sense. There wasn't anybody who was seen as superior or acted superior. So that I felt that was the part where dance was very political to me. Now, fast forward, I moved to the United States, and I used dance in my own personal healing to express solidarity for myself with my brothers and sisters in Sudan, in particular during the revolution in 2019. So I did this. I felt so helpless at that moment because I was here and everyone was there on the street marching with their lives, trying to really stand up to a brutal regime and a dictator at the time. So I used dance as a form of my own way of connecting and healing from the pain that I'm here and I can't do anything. So I would do this performances in Cleveland, Ohio, or even I did some in California as well, where it was a form of self-expression. It wasn't a performance where I wanted an audience and intentionally to have an audience. It was my way of going there and breathing and connecting to my roots and to my people at that time, at that moment. We also kind of like use dance as a way to really reclaim our identity, especially for the younger generations here in the United States. So we started a group where I teach kind of children of Sudanese parents who are born in the United States, but they haven't really been to Sudan or don't connect so much with the culture, to kind of revive their identity through dance. So we learn how to dance traditional dance, Sudanese dances, that ancient one, the Shabbal one, the bridal dances, the different regions, and through that, I'm also educating them about the culture. So using that as a way to communicate with a totally different generation, and share that kind of curiosity about movement, because for them it's mostly about learning, trying to learn what this means, and all the quirky part when you're trying to it's, language, dance is the same like language. When you are not a native speaker of a language and then you try to talk that, like me now, probably I sound funny to an English speaker, but there is this awkwardness, there is this sort of like you kind of like want to feel smooth with how the movement come along in that body that was like nourished through the Nile and the soil, the fertile soil that's been there for 3,000, 4,000 years, in difference to someone who moves in America and they dance to the rhythm and the tone of the different music here and the different voices and sounds they hear in their environment and things. So we kind of we did that, and it was the first time actually the Sudanese community in Cleveland performed publicly for like in the 20 years of them being here in this area of Cleveland. So we did a performance, and I feel like that in itself provided a safe space for a lot of our youth who are right now trying to understand their identity, especially in the kind of a way of Black Lives Matter. Are we Black? Are we American? What does what does the intersectionality of Black means?
I don't know. That's a really interesting thing you bring up, and it's something that has been a big topic of conversation, because it's something that we can all understand to some level. There's some imposed things that okay, if you have dark skin to this degree, like if you are known to have dark skin, then you might experience certain things depending on where you are. But this whole thing of identity under the banner of Black is something that we've been talking about a lot at Africa Week. And I have had that question myself quite a bit since I moved to the States. I didn't grow up here. what is Black? I didn't grow up with that. And so I love that you are also asking this question, even though we have completely different upbringings.
Yes, and those are upbringings of, and especially like I'm trying to channel some of the kids. Those are kids who grew up in the United States, so they grew up Black, but knowing that the world recognized them as Black. But what does Black mean? Is it a color? Is it a culture? Is it a life experience? You know, and so how they can reach out to themselves within themselves to kind of like really look into what does their Blackness mean to them. Their Blackness means that the way I move, the way I see the world, they look, not just the way the world look at me. So that was kind of part of it, was through reaching out to this sort of like heritage roots, ancestors, kind of reservoir of movement, you know, and try to see if you can reconnect with it. So yeah, this is sort of like kind of my relationship to what
Thank you.
Right now.
I mean, you're touching on, I think that there's a life, some sort of life force, some sort of spiritual force that so many of us are tapping into in every panel, every interview, every chat, in all of our communities. And that life force is, who are we really? And how can we express that? Who are we really? And how can we teach each other to express that? And that is, you are doing that beautifully. You're in that exploration and doing it so beautifully, and you are sharing that with us in such a clear way. I'm so appreciative. Thank you.
Yeah, but in here in May, end of May, June, early June, we had a protest in Cleveland, a Black Lives Matter protest, and I did a performance during that protest. It was still an unannounced performance, but I don't think many people noticed what I did, because it wasn't kind of like meant to be an act of a like spectacular. It meant to be an act of resistance. So I dressed up in a dress that I usually dress, like my dance clothes, and I walked and I moved in the very slow movement that I was telling you, but I was very slow. And because I was very slow, all the police officers with their horses, they were in their high horses, had to be behind me. And that kept a huge distance between them and the protesters.
Wow.
And I was dancing and parading myself like that. And it looks like I'm walking, but I'm doing this very, very slow traditional Sudanese dance. And they are walking and then the horse had to follow my temp, you know? So I'm doing like this. I'm walking like this. And then the horses are like, chick, chick.
The horses were feeling it. The horses were with you.
And it slowed everything. It slowed everything down. So it was just me and the horse and the police officers in their gigantic horses. Those horses are big.
Yes, I imagine you were just like below their like, because you're like, you know, you're small. I can imagine they were like.
Then they were like, but the protesters were like 100 feet away.
Wow.
And in this dance, it's like it's so weird, because they could just pass through me, but that's I think what is the same thing like the Nubian Sudanese women did. They walked with grace. They had everything else then would follow. They were like the entourage, the head of the entourage. So like somehow it slowed them. It managed to stop them.
There's this phrase, and then we'll go on, but there's this phrase I heard, and someone told me this is a HBC, historically Black college, sort of phrase, and the phrase is called "walk with composure," and it's just Treneti. Do you know that phrase? You're nodding. Do you know that phrase, "walk with composure"?
I know it from a different angle. I didn't didn't go to a historically Black college, but my grandmother, she's from Mississippi, and she taught me etiquette. Etiquette was a big part of my upbringing. Like from the time I could walk until I was like 7, every single day we would do different etiquette exercises. And people still comment on like the grace that I carry myself with. And my grandmother really instilled it in me that to move through the world like that would make it where people would always come and stand in attention to anything I had to say, or always respect me in any room I ever entered.
Yes. Okay.
And so that's where I know that from.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Malaz, thank you. We'll return to walking with composure because I want to make sure everybody has a chance to say hello. Jamie, hello. Welcome. Welcome from Trinidad.
I love that we're saving the men for last. I like that. I like this. I like this panel already. Thank you so much for having me.
They are patiently waiting. They are patiently waiting.
I see that. I love it. It's they're walking with composure. It's lovely. I love it. Beto and Alexandra, thank you for having me here. I want to, before I start talking about myself, I want to give thanks to the spirit of Kalinda, and I'll explain what that is in one moment. I also want to give thanks to a legendary stick fighter who's recently passed away, and today is actually his 40 days, which is very significant in our culture. His name is King David Matthew Brown. He is one of my confidants, teachers, mentors, one of the elders in an organization where I am the director called Bois Academy of Trinidad and Tobago. Rondell Benjamin is the founder. We've recently changed the language around that because as people of African descent, it is important for us to not think about that word decolonizing, but continuing to create our own futures, right? So my title is actually not director, it's pointer. And his is actually chief dreamer, which I like much better than all those other formal things. I've been dancing for 20 something years. I'm actually 40 years old. I like saying that because I know people don't like saying their age. And since I don't seem to be aging, I like telling y'all how old I am. Right. Thank you, Trinity. So I've been dancing for over 20 something years. I've studied all forms of dance, ballet, modern jazz, West African, folk dances as well. Right now, my life has transitioned in such a way that Kalinda is my way of life. Kalinda is Trinidad's martial arts form. It is not a diminished form of martial arts. It's actually, for me, a heightened form of martial arts. Beyond that, Kalinda is also a performance complex, and it includes dance, stick fighting, drumming, singing of lavways, which is basically call and response, and ritual. It also is a multi-dimensional form of ritualized warfare. So it is inclusive of women and men, and children as well too, because the games that we learn as children tie back to the form as well too. So right now, as I said, I'm the director of Bois Academy, and at Bois Academy, we basically are pushing the tradition forward. So we're bringing it into the future, and Afrofuturism, if you will, is what Kalinda is. It's a technology. It's a system of self-actualization. So when I heard the other two ladies speaking, it was so interesting to me because Kalinda actually includes destruction. One of the things about, and it uses it in ways that I feel like the Western world has taught us that destruction is a particular thing. And in Kalinda, one of the goals is to be beautiful in the face of death or of chaos. So we approach destruction with the same joy that we approach creation. And I think understanding that from the perspective of being a woman in Kalinda and understanding the power that we have as women with our bodies, understanding that we have the power to create, and that same power we can also destroy. My mother, God rest her soul as well. My mom's name is Veronica Philbert. I try to make sure I mention my parents when I do things. Miss Vero would say in the rawest, most possible form, in a very Trini way, your mother should have closed she legs when she was making you. If you get the drift of that statement, it is literally understanding the power to create you and also the power to destroy you, just by the power of what is between my legs. Women are Caribbean women all over the world, but specifically Caribbean women, and martial dance in the Caribbean is something that I wouldn't even call it a form of protest. Kalinda is literally a way of life. It is a way of living. So the protest is not in how I feel like protest happens today. It's not reactionary. It's not something that's happening because, oh, this happened, so now we have to do this. It's the way we're living. Although in 1881, they tried to ban carnival, the government. When they tried to do this, the Kalinda warriors, the Jamet Society decided, nah, well, they're not doing that. So riots broke out, and those were the Camboulet riots. In 1883, they tried to ban the drum. Nothing too big happened then. There was a little shuffle. And then 1884, they tried to ban stick, which is basically Kalinda. And when they did that, there was another bunch of riots that broke out. So during that time, people don't understand that this art form is not just dance. It's not just something that's recreational. And it's not just something that is done for protest. Yes, our bodies are used in that way. Yes, the stick fighters are the people in the community that offer up a certain level of maroonage, that offer up protection, not just protection, but healing as well too, because Kalinda deals with the healing of herbs as well. So inside of all of that I just shared, one of my goals is to continue to build Kalinda to the point where it's something that people can digest as a daily practice. The mindset of Kalinda, understanding that no matter what is going on, no matter what obstacle, no matter what conflict is happening, I have a response to that thing. So I don't have to run away from it. Yeah. In Kalinda, we talk about breaksing. So you'll have your stick. If you throw your stick at me, Alexandra, I breaks. Yeah. In life and conversation, we can do the same thing as well too, in any situation, whether it be in school, with these protests, in business. So for me, it's something that has changed my life, because I feel like I've always had Kalinda in my life, even when I did not know that's what I was doing. I've been surrounded by it my entire life, from the types of dances that I've learned, from the communities that I've been a part of. And I'm grateful because this happened in such a way that I feel like Kalinda called me into it. I got into a car accident in 2018 of December, and I dislocated my shoulder, and some other parts of my body were out of commission. Treneti and other movers in the space would understand that anytime you injure yourself, you're like, oh my God, like, am I going to be able to dance again? And I've never had like such a major injury before. So I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to move again. About a month later, I started to learn another tradition of martial arts that we have here called jab jab, which is connected to Kalinda. My colleague Rondell Benjamin speaks of that as a part of the Kalinda suite. So it's done with whips. So similar actions inside of it. However, it's just a whip that you're using. So I started to learn a whip on the arm that was good. Month after that, I started training inside of Kalinda. So people look at me a bit as a miracle because they're trying to figure out, so you dislocated your shoulder and now you play stick? Like, let me understand what is happening here. But it's something that brought me to myself. It's something that made me understand my body in ways that I don't think that I always understood. And I have a very good grip on my body and my spirit. But Kalinda was like coming home for my body, if that makes sense. You know?
Yeah.
So that was a lot of talking.
I appreciate it. I appreciate that. And I wonder, there's something that you touched on in a conversation that we had before this.
Yeah.
And it was about that Kalinda, if we really look back, it is a women's, it's originated as did you say that? Am I remembering wrong?
Not that it originated, but what we have a tendency to do, especially with things that are rooted in violence or perceived violence, we attribute it to male-dominated spaces. Now, while Kalinda is viewed as a male-dominant space now, we have to understand the mechanics of things. Who dressed the men to go out to fight? The Jamet women are the ones who held the weapons. They also are the ones who fought and used their bodies as weapons. Right. So you would have them protesting, and I'm saying the word protest, but it wasn't a protest. They were having like carnival and everything. They're chipping on the road and they get on, and they would throw their dresses up and show their bamsi. to the upperclassmen. They would open their shirts up and show their breasts in this kind of glee. So they use their bodies in this way that is happening contemporary now, but it's misunderstood. So it wasn't even a sexual thing that was happening. They understood the power of their sex. Yeah. And Kalinda is also a very sensual thing as well. So it's an intimate art. Yeah. And people don't look at it from that perspective of pleasure. There's a pleasure inside of violence that can only be understood from the feminine. You know? So there's people like Petit Belle Lily, Sophie Belair. Sophie Belair was one of the leaders. She's the reason why the women would corral the men. Like, okay, listen, so this is going on inside the town. Somebody then, if they're trying to mess up our carnival, we need all to go take care of it. Or need to go handle that. The men weren't just going, okay, we're going to go fight. They were pushed by the women to go do it. They had to do it. So the women were at the meat of it. They're the root of it. Beyond the simple fact that the women make the fighters. There can be no fighters if we didn't make them.
True that. True that.
Yeah. Yeah, they can do that. And you know, and again, how are you being nurtured? Who's loving you at the end of the fight? Who's taking care of the cuts? Who's healing the wounds? Who's feeding you before you go out to fight? So the women are a critical part of Kalinda. So one of the major goals right now is to get more women involved in the practice of Kalinda. Not that they have to go fight in the Gael. The Gael is the ring or the space that we play Kalinda in. Not that they have to go so far as to do that. But for me, Alexandra, one of the most important things, we talk about revolution and we talk about all these catchphrases, decolonizing, all these things. These traditions were always a part of us. Another thing with Kalinda is these were not slaves. These were free people. These were people that were always free. So you could not approach them in a particular way. We have a bad habit of starting our heritage from slavery. We didn't start that way. So we can't, and these practices didn't begin inside of slavery. Kalinda was not something that began in slavery, right? It began way before that, in Bantu culture, in Haiti. They were in spaces that didn't have slavery going on. We used them in those instances. Even when they took away the drum, they took away the stick, we figured out a way to still train and dance. Damye, when you look at Damye and Capoeira, it's a dance. We just learned, we were brilliant. We are brilliant. We learned how to disguise things so the slave masters didn't know. Our language, you know, us going out and doing protests and the police understand what you're saying, that doesn't make any sense to me. They should not know what we're saying. The fact that we're all speaking in English is problematic. You know, so these are things that we have to start to think about when we think about revolution. And the women, we have a responsibility in this space, and we have to begin to step up in a different sort of way. And don't get me wrong, many women are doing it, but there's a way that I want us to embody ourselves. You don't have to try to be a man. You don't have to try to be anything. Being yourself is more than enough. There's a balance that we have to have inside of ourselves. There's a balance that our brothers have to have. And if we're not doing that together, it's not going to work. There's a saying in Trinidad called one hand, don't clap. I can't clap like this. It's not going to work. I need both. Both of us have to do it.
Beto was just talking about this.
I want to be there. One hand cleans the other one, and both clean the face.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're talking about walking with composure. In Kalinda, you know, these were not, it's turned into a particular thing in our space, has a particular view. It's been transferred into Carnival. Tomorrow is actually our emancipation. And that is when Kalinda is usually celebrated, around emancipation time. They've removed it. Yeah, they removed it out of that and placed it into Carnival. So now everybody thinks that Kalinda is a part of Carnival. It precedes it. It came way before Carnival. Yeah? So Carnival is a child of Kalinda, and people don't understand that. And if you understand that, then you will understand some of the dancing inside of it. You will understand the Moko Jambi. You'll understand the sailor. These are all Kalinda characters. King David Brown, who I mentioned earlier, used to say that they are Kalinda adjectives. So there's so many different things to describe Kalinda. They are a royal people. Royalty. When we step into the ring, it's a certain grace that you are stepping with. There's codes and ethics that we must abide by. There's a way that I'm going to honor the drum, to honor the player that is across from me. Yeah, we are living constantly inside of our multiverse of self. And the multiverse of self is basically me understanding me as a person and what I have come with, my actual self, my ideal self, who I want to be 5 minutes from now. Then it goes back into the mirror self who's across from me, my community who's around me and supporting me, who's singing the loud ways, singing the call and response with me. Yeah. My ancestors who I can't do anything without. I have to push through the drum as an ancestor as well too. So all of these things are acting, and then my shadow self. So I hear about, nonviolent protests being pushed forward and superior to violent protests. We always had violent resistance. How can you not resist violently to people that are being violent to you? So we need our martial arts forms. Yes, I could dance. My dance is also violent. And when Carlos speaks, he can speak more to this. But bomba, there's a violence inside of bomba. And it's a necessary violence. You can't dance bomba all soft. There's parts of it like that. But when you move your skirt, it's a weapon. Your body is a weapon. Yeah. Even if I don't have my stick in my hand, there's a way that I'm approaching the movement that lets you know, like, I'm not the one. You know?
Yes.
Sorry,
Carlos.
I'm coming through the screen.
Ahora te entiendo, mi hermano. Now I get it. Carlos was telling me about this
I
empress.
heard what you said. You understand now. I understand un poquito español. Un poquito.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you for that, for uplifting us this way. It's amazing. Yes.
Thank you.
I want to hear more.
We have more panelists.
The amazing thing is that throughout the day, we've been repeating a lot of things. We've been repeating about honesty. We've been repeating about the community situation, about upliftment, and everybody's saying the same things, which is really amazing to me, and brings me a huge smile on my face and on my soul. Yeah.
I'm grateful to be here. The thing is that I hear, because of this Corona time that we're in, there's all these panels and all these talks going on. I've heard a lot of different people speaking. I feel like what happens for me is we're too safe. We're too safe sometimes in how we're speaking. If we're going to do these things, and we have to tell the truth, and the truth may not be what people want to hear.
Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to Africa Week 2020.
Thank you. Our cultures are their doorways, their bridges, their crossroads. They're all these things that are going to bring us into our futures. And if we don't pay attention to that, we're going to miss it again, because it's happened before. It's happened before. So I don't think that it's an accident that any of this is happening, these connections. And Carlos, thank you for linking Alexandra and I together so that this could happen, but there's so many layers that we have to heal. But I feel like one of the biggest things that if I could drive home is that we have to start internally. We have to start with ourselves. I'm tired of seeing revolutionaries like, oh, we have to do this big thing. I'm just like, that makes no sense, because you're going to mess everybody else up. You have to get it with yourself, which is why, like, Kalinda for me is it, and all Kalinda born forms, right? Bámbula and Kalinda stand side by side. Yeah. And all the babies that came out, Damye, Laja, Bomba, all of those babies that they birth, is like, oh, it's right there. It's for us. It's already part of our cultures, and we're missing it, or we misuse it. We realize that it's an opportunity to be famous in some sort of way, And the thing with Kalinda is Kalinda won't let you do that. And that's why I love it. Because Kalinda will absolutely mess you up. And if you think that she is something that to play with, like, think you're coming to just be a star around Kalinda. She's the star, And I do believe, like, that she's calling all of her babies back together. She's connecting it. She's creating that bridge for all of us to connect. So I'm really, really grateful to see it happening.
Thank you for bringing that message. Yes, we need that here. Thank you. I don't know if there's anything. Just thank you.
I think there's one more thing I want to share. One of the things I was going to say is that I'm creating with Rondell Benjamin. Actually, King David was a part of this before he passed. We're creating a dance technique, a dance and performance technique that's built around Kalinda. So it's not just Kalinda, but all the Kalinda-born forms. So it includes all these things. And my goal is that it's a co-creation, that it's not something that is just Jamie's alone. It is presently called the Philbert Kalinda technique, and that's only because I really don't know what to call it yet. And I just needed to be like honest talk. I don't know what to call it yet. I've had like ups and downs about what to call it, but it's something that I believe that has to be not just a collaboration here in Trinidad of co-creators, but I feel more and more my spirit feel like it needs to be something that's worldwide. We have to figure out a way to merge it. It's like I feel like it's this technology that pieces of it are flying all over the place, and if we bring it all together, we're going to be unstoppable.
Yes. Thank you for saying that and mentioning that here. I just want to plant the seed that this is a place where maybe those people hearing your call will find you through Africa Week 2020. I am certainly interested. We talked about this on the phone. You know, I'm on my own journey, but yes, and please update us, because this is the people are following along from all over the world, and people want to know, what did this turn into? So I will be definitely in touch with you, but I will want to know what's happening now. Like people are ready for this. Everybody that comes through Africa Week is ready for this.
Yeah.
This energy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before we go on to Carlos, I know Malaz, you have to go in about 5 minutes. I just want to mention again, Malaz will be again with us tomorrow. We have a second day of events tomorrow, and where is it on my computer? Tomorrow is Sing, Speak, Stay, Communicating Resilience. Tomorrow's all Dima. She's put panels together. She has put update panels. So like panels like you're seeing now, for those of you who are new to Africa Week, panels like this that you're seeing now. Tomorrow is a day that has a couple panels of people who did stuff like this, and now they're coming back to say, okay, this is what we did, and now we want to create this thing. So there's like a sort of like a follow-up. And so there's also some new stuff going on tomorrow, and Malaz will be with us. At what time, Malaz? Oh, at 16:30 EST. So at 3:30 EST. 4:30 EST. So I hope you all come back and say hello to Malaz. Malaz, thank you for being with us. You can go whenever you need to, but I really appreciate you being here. If there's anything else. Okay.
Yeah, I can listen. I really like what you're saying.
Okay.
So I'm gonna be continuing to work and doing whatever I'm doing.
Nice.
and then listening to the conversation.
Please stay.
Yes. Okay.
So we'll go on. Carlos Padilla. Hello. Please.
Hi.
Tell us about your work. Thank you for being so patient, and talk to us. Tell us about dance's movement and protestive medicine.
Well, if you heard Jamie and all of the women that are here, you will understand why I wait patiently to my turn, you know. We all come from women, so we have to wait for them to express themselves, and we come later. So, my name is Carlos Padilla, also known as Carlos Ciorro. I'm from Puerto Rico, and I'm a bomba drum maker, traditional bomba drums. There's one of my babies there that Beto is showing. That's his drum, but I made it, so for me it's one of my babies. I'm part of the bomba Bámbula tradition of Puerto Rico, and I'm working restoring our martial tradition called Coco Ballet. Also, first of all, I want to say that Jamie is one of my teachers. I'm learning with her and with Rondell Benjamin in the Bois Academy of Trinidad and Tobago. So respect and honor to my teachers. Also, Pablo, that is maybe not here because we're having problems with the power in Puerto Rico. He was also my bomba teacher, my first bomba teacher. So, respect and honor to him too. Beto is my brother, friend, and also he's a teacher to me. So, we're here in family. And that's what I'm doing. I have my taller, my workshop of bomba drums called Taller Bámbula. And also I'm the director of Proyecto Coco Ballet, which has a martial tradition from the Caribbean, an Afro-Puerto Rican martial tradition, you know. We work with stick, machete, and dance with a bomba, bámbula music base. That's basically what I'm working in, you know. If you want to explain more, I will surely do.
Carlos, what drew you to? Did you grow up in these traditions, or did you find them in your life?
Well, we could say that they find me. It's actually funny, you know. I learned bomba when, like 20 years ago, when I used to have hair and a lot of it.
Dread, and you had locks.
Yes, yes.
I saw that picture.
So I was involved in the Rasta community and the reggae music community. And you know that in the reggae music and Rasta community, there's always a constant saying that is keep your culture, you know, keep your culture. And that took me in a labyrinth and ended in bomba. So I think Beto has a similar path. And it was funny because I was once going from the metropolitan area in Puerto Rico to where I used to live. I used to live in Rio Grande, it's in the east. But I like to go through Loíza to get to Rio Grande. And one day the drums were playing, and I put my car in reverse, park, and then I get in contact with Pablo Rivera, and the journey began. So it was a lot of time ago.
Carlos, there was one thing you said in our conversation when we spoke on the phone about nature and understanding your own nature, I think. Do you remember that?
What?
We were talking about using dance and movement as protest on the phone, and you'd said something really interesting about people understanding their own nature through martial arts. Do you remember that?
Well, I can tell you that through these martial traditions, we tend to call it martial tradition because it's not an art like the Chinese ones. It's a different thing, you know. It's alive, and it doesn't have like a strict form, you know. It's something that you live, and through that we can find ourselves, you know. Through these traditions we can find ourselves. We can be free, you know. In the space that we dance in the bomba, we call it batey. That is actually an indigenous native name, but by the years it got a new meaning. So batey is what a palenque or a quilombo is. It's where the Maroons went in the jungle to live free, to find freedom. So in this space that we dance, or we also play our stick game, is where we can be free. We can free ourselves. And, you know, that's what I was talking about how we can use this to find ourselves and to be free and to have freedom and liberty as a guide, something that we look forward always. We're always remembering ourselves the importance of freedom, of liberty, of equality, etc.
Yes, definitely. Carlos touched on something that to me is very interesting, and I think is one of the things that's very important about our African ancestors is that they could have made up a new word for that place, but they respected the natives so much that they actually grabbed that word and started using it as a means of respect to our or, indigenous people, Indians. It's the same on the same breath. I think it was. I don't know if it was you who wrote this or Tato. I'm not sure, but for example, after the Haitian Revolution, they could have come up with an African name for the new nation, but they didn't. They kept the indigenous name of the native indigenous people, and that what shows is love and respect. And that to me is a act of a very valiant act in part of our African ancestors, and it has to do also with some of what Jamie was talking about. The inventiveness of our ancestors. The creativity of our ancestors. When I speak about how our drums are made, from recycled materials back in the day, that to me is amazing. To actually grab something that was made to carry to distribute, food, supplies, and all of a sudden they look at it and say, "Hey, I'm gonna reuse this and recycle this thing and make it into a drum, which the drum is actually a spiritual being with a spiritual connection that directly every time you hit that drum, you definitely connect with all the ancestors. You connect to Mother Africa, and you connect to your entire community. So that inventiveness of our African people and that respect to our native indigenous people speak, huge, loud words about our African ancestors. And like Jamie said, they were royalty. Those who survives that, when you go to beat your enemy, you don't capture the weak, you capture the strongest. You capture the chiefs. You capture the bush doctors. That's what, the powerful people, right? So our African ancestors were kings and queens and princesses and emperors and empresses, and that's why it keeps coming up about telling and Jamie said that also about truth, about telling the true story. And some people are not ready to hear that, but we are here telling it to the entire world, and we won't stop.
Yes, that remembering and reconnection is what Bámbula is actually. Is reconnecting to our community, to our ancestors, to a collective consciousness. That's the sacred space of Bámbula. That's what we enter in. That's why we have to enter with some protocols. That's why we have to salute the community, the drum, and the drummer who's playing the primo. How do you say, Beto? Help me.
Well, the lead drum. The lead drum.
The lead drum, exactly. that's the one who's making the conversation among the dancer and the drummer. And that conversation, we reconnect to our ancestors, to those who came before us. And about that kingly thing, there's a rhythm or dance here that's almost lost, but not really. It's called Mariangola, which actually means the kings of Angola.
That's it.
You know, so it's in that same tradition of kings and queens that this comes and goes around. That's actually why the stick players, I believe, in Trinidad are called kings and queens, those who have a high standard, you know, who have proven themselves. So obviously, yeah, go on.
I just want to say that the community has to name that as well too, right? So nobody's just waking up one day and going, "Oh, I'm a king today." That's great empowerment in our everyday life now, but this was something that was earned through your skill, and not just with your fighting skill, but you being a healer amongst being a fighter. You could not just be a fighter. You had to learn everything, right? Because if you in the bush somewhere and a snake bites you, you have to know how to heal that. You know, you were Alexandra, you were talking about walking with composure. We have something in Trinidad called walk good, or in patois marche bon, right? So it's the same premise, you know, of walking with a certain kind of thing, walking with almost flight, walking like you have wings, right? So you're flying as you're walking, and that's what happens inside of Kalinda. You go to another space. We call it liminal space, right? So you're not even on this plane when you're playing. And Kalinda, when Beto started talking, and Carlos, Kalinda, it literally translates as the way of the drum. So all of those things are connected, you know, it translates as that. So we are the people of the bois, we are the people of the tree, we're the people of the drum. All of that connects back to how powerful a piece of wood is, you know? Yeah. And it's okay, I'm done. I'm muting myself again. I'm muting.
No, don't. But, you know, drums, you know, it used to be a tree. It used to be an animal, you know, that walked the earth and breathed and ate food, and, you know, it dump, and from that dumping, you know, seed and something else grows up. So yeah, definitely it's a living entity. And yes, and I have spoken about this before. You know, this area that we call Bate, where we do this bomba, to me at least is the universe. It's the universe, because we close the circle, and everything that's outside the circle doesn't exist anymore. We're just there, and like Master Marian Torres says, if you're suffering, you go there to get healed. If you are a healer, you go there to heal somebody else. If you're hungry, you go there to get food. And that's the power of Bámbula. That's what it does. It's definitely medicine for the soul, but it's also medicine for the physical, which is really amazing. I can be really sick and can't even walk, and I hear the drum and I'm like, we're gonna burn it. So I just go like, I don't really remember that movie, but I'll be like that. I get healed, through that power. So to hear Sister Jamie talk about that, to hear Sister Trini talk about how with her movements she also heals herself and the people around. The other sister from Sudan, I was impressed. I think when she said about the dance that her grandmother also bowed and then it started. That's exactly what we do. Carla, when she was talking about like Carlos and I both were like, whoa.
Yes.
So is that
that's the thing too. That's the thing, right? And this is why I keep saying we're all connected. You're talking about the circle. It's in every martial dance. And even if it's not a label of martial dance, every single dance that comes from the diaspora, you will see that circle. Even when Treneti was talking and making a cipher is a circle. We've kept the traditions, our memories that's locked inside of our cellular memories. It's inside of our DNA. So even when they try to beat it out of us, kill it out of us, it's not going anywhere, which is what I assume is very annoying. How, you know, you've done all these things. It's got to be annoying to them. That's got to be frustrating. Thousands of years that you're trying to kill these people off. You're trying to get them to a point where they feel like the slaves we're telling them that they are, and they are still running things.
Yes.
You know, so that's got to be an aggravate. But we have kept it, just like Carl says, memory. You know what I mean? It's just dance form, not just Bámbula, not just Bomba, not just Kalinda, not just any dancing in the world. For me, that is, our forms have originated all dance forms. And it's something that, you know, I'm looking into more, because when you look at hip hop, when you look at house music dancing, when you look at jazz dancing, when you look at tap, everything, it comes from our forms. It's not something that, you know, white people woke up one day and went, hey, we're going to just do this dance and we've all of a sudden we have rhythm. No, that's something that was learned from us.
Yeah, it was learned, and it could all be traced through different cultural appropriation and even periods of time when it was actually like acceptable to try to mimic and copy the dances of African like bloodlines, and even like acceptable to like paint yourself and like try to like be blackface and mimic that, and like all of those things. It's like you know, on one hand, imitation is like the best form of flattery, but on another hand, to then take that and like reconstruct and to not move with honor, like what Beto was talking about, to change the names of things and to try to separate it from that source of which it came from, that is insidious. And that happened in, perhaps it didn't happen from a space of like intentionally being insidious. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't.
Absolutely.
But you know, whatever, we don't have to go that into that if we don't want to. But it still, it happened, and that's why I feel like the like exactly everything you guys are saying, like the interconnectedness, and then the memory and the trust in the cellular memory, in your DNA, and feeling all of those different pieces of your ancestors coming through your DNA. And like what I discovered through my journey with dance, similar to you, Jamie, I've done it like every single style of dance that I could get my hands on, including martial arts, including capoeira, including qigong, including all of these different things. And I was just like, this is the dance. This is a entity that is bigger than all of these things. And if you honor her, you have access to all of these energies. And I didn't feel like I needed to get a certification in qigong or in any of these things. I was like, I understand that my body is this etheric imprint of chi that radiates out. This is a nucleus of a greater body that I'm a part of, and moving my body, listening to my cellular memory and moving my body in these pathways is allowing me to clear and alchemize and shift my energy and shift the energy of the environment around me, just through understanding this communion with the dance. And so yeah, I resonate with everything you all are saying. And for those who are watching that are like feeling like, oh, how can I like tap into this part of myself, like I don't have connection to this community right now or these different traditions right now, like I challenge you to go into a space alone and listen and allow your body to show you what you already know. Allow your body to teach you. Allow your vision to dive into your cellular memory, and the ancestors to rise and meet you in that dance, in that space, all by yourself. Because it's there. It's already there. And you just have to lean in and trust it.
Oh, that's powerful. You just said it's really powerful.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to do an exercise.
But we have to remember, Trinity just said it too, is in Kalinda, seeing is feeling. Feeling is seeing. Right? So if we remember that, like, we do have everything. There's one part I want to I feel what you're saying about being connected in such a way that you don't feel like you have to get certain certifications. Part of the problem, two things I wanted to address that you said. Part of the problem in our forums in particular is that people don't feel like they need to do certain things. They feel like they can pick it up and run with it. But because it's a technology, right? Just like slavery was built up in a particular way.
Exactly.
It's a tech. We have to respect the technologies inside of it.
Oh
Because
yes, definitely. No, I'm not saying I
know
definitely
you
don't
weren't
want to
saying
come
that.
off like that. So
No,
thanks for
no, I know
clarifying.
you weren't saying it, but I think that it could be interpreted that way if
Yes,
someone
thank you
else is
for-
hearing who's not,
Yeah.
knowledgeable.
Yeah,
So
thank
they
you
could
for
interpret.
clarifying that.
Yeah, because what happens is, and we experience it in Kalinda a lot of times. People are, oh yeah, I know Kalinda, and I'm like, it's not so simple as holding a stick. And people sometimes learn that the hard way, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Like
because you have
hit
to
in
then
the
be
head
accountable
because
for those energies.
you
You have to be
realize
accountable for those energies and how they're going to show up in your life, and that goes with
Yeah.
everything. And I feel
Yeah.
like I see that across the board in all different traditions and esoteric practices, is like people kind of baby style just picking up things, and then there's a very big difference. Yeah, exactly. There's a very, very big difference between like going into your becoming. There's a difference between inspiration, trying something and being inspired by it, and then going into your own internal process of discovering your own internal system, your system of moving in that way. That is very different than trying to appropriate or claim something that you have not earned the ability to claim. And I think that's where the lines get really blurry, because people feel like they could just claim stuff. Like you see it one time and you can just claim it.
It's not always outsiders that do it, even in our space. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I'm sure Carlos and Beto could speak to the same thing. We have people who do not study the form, but they write about it. They do certain things around it. They'll claim it in other spaces, but they will not pick up a bois. They will not pick up a stick, right? They won't come anywhere near Gael. They won't have a stick man in their house. You won't feed it. You know what I mean? So for me, we have to be clear about what it is that we're doing, because it seems really cool to do certain things. The other thing that you mentioned was about the appropriation and the mimicry that happens with white people in particular. What's great about us is when we mimic them, they had no idea, right? So we were always doing this. They taught us what to do. They put us in a particular kind of situation where we had to learn from them as well, right? So the problem, I think the biggest problem, besides the fact it's insulting and all those other things, right? Because we were doing it too and we were insulting, but they're not good at it. The mimicking is no good. We turn mimicry into carnival. It is now like the leading industry, probably in the world, right? Every country has carnival, but it's a mimicry of all the stuff that they did to us, right? In South Africa, they have the African boot dance that came from them mimicking
cakewalk in the South.
We could keep going. You know what I mean? That's what we do best. Oh, you want to enslave me? Really? Check this out. I got a dance for you. In fact, I got a song for you. The lavaways were protest songs. They were songs about the government. We do it now. You know what I mean? We miss that inside of our creation, there's magic. It's wanga, as we call it here. It's straight up wanga. It's nothing else but I'm gonna make this song about you. You're not even gonna know what I'm saying. These double entendres are happening inside of it. I'm gonna disguise it. It's gonna be a hit, and you're gonna even be singing it because it's so good. That's how good the magic is.
Also, I want to I want to add that in this tradition there's also how do I say it? I think in Spanish and then I translate to English. So hold on. ¿Cómo se dice cuando tú tienes un ritual? A ritual. We have rituals. We have things that people would not see if they're basing their knowledge on YouTube videos and things like that. There are different steps, rituals, initiations that you don't see. So I get why Treneti is saying. I support it 100%. But if you want to be specific and learn from a tradition, and the tradition is alive, go get someone from that tradition.
Exactly.
And I think we're open to that. And we're open also to acknowledge people that are far away and are doing their own thing. We can watch it and see she's doing something and I recognize her, you know? But there's things that are lacking. Some people that are basing their things on mimicking videos and stuff.
The University of YouTube.
Yeah.
Plus,
I
in
just,
these traditions, also there is a hierarchy that needs to be respected. You know, for it to really survive the passage of time. So those protocols of hierarchy, of of respect, or that the tradition has, you can't learn that from YouTube, or
Nope.
you have to actually participate in it, and in it you will hit your face with the reality. You might think, oh yeah, I know how to do this, and you'll go out and do whatever you think you know how to do. You could be the best primo player ever, but if there is an elder in the batey, what are you doing sitting on the primo? What the hell are you doing sitting on the primo, man?
yes, let me make a parenthesis and do a shout out to Marien Torres Lopez, master teacher, dancer, friend. What can I say? She also led me her space to do our Coco Ballet thing. So a lot of respect and love for her. I just want to give an example of this, what we're talking about. For example, if you learn a bomba rhythm and you come to a bomba play where people are playing bomba, you don't know anybody there. They're gonna watch you like, what are you doing? Why are you trying to play our music? Every bomba player has an invisible key. And with that key, we can open the space for other people. Right. But you have to come with an invitation of someone. Someone has to know you. Someone has to know that you can do what you're trying to do. It's not like you learn the rhythm in YouTube and then you come and everyone is going to be opening this sacred space for everyone that we don't know. Because if you come to the space and you don't know what you're doing, you're going to be messing all of the energy and all of the sacredness of Bámbula, of reconnection. You're going to mess with the one who's dancing, who's pouring out her or his soul into that connection. So, I just wanted to give that example of how things are maybe different from what you see in videos. And Jamie can talk about calenda. You can watch calenda in a video, but it's not the same as learning with someone who knows.
Exactly. And calenda is the kind of thing where, and again, you could feel like you could play calenda. You could feel like I know calenda. If you run up on a practitioner of calenda, someone who this is their way of life, I guarantee you will get your head bust. Plain and simple. You know what I mean? Yep. Because you're gonna run up on that person thinking that and I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen in this space where people think that it's just as simple as holding a stick and literally get their head bust. So or end up busting your own head because you don't know the protocols, because you don't understand what spirits, what jumbies are living inside of the space, And again, me, because when there's a way of life, it happens outside of the traditional Gael. Yeah, I've seen it happen in states where people are trying to come for my neck, and I'm like, you have no idea that I'm protected. And again, before I rolled up on Kalinda, I understood that one of my gifts is to move. When I move, it makes other people move. and understanding that and owning that with yourself is important. We don't own the things about ourselves anymore. We don't understand that we have a power that we walk with.
Exactly.
We don't
And
have to do anything. We walk with a certain power. Then when we open our mouths to speak, it's not just us speaking. It's the tens of thousands of ancestors that are coming with us. This whole conversation is not just Alexander, Trinity, Beto, and Carlos, and Jamie. It's all of our ancestors, and Malaz,
exactly.
all of our ancestors behind us, revving this up. We can't do it, anything. So that thing I was talking about, the multiverse of self, is something that I came up with inside the technique, because it helps, back to what you were saying, Beto, about the universe. It is that circle that we have to keep remembering. We're not one individual self. We are connected. And if we remember that connection, then we can move differently. Moving in this very westernized form as, oh, it's just me and I'm trying to get this done and you're going to fail. You know, there are times when I have not had money and I'll be sitting around like, well, I don't know how it's going to work out today, but we're going to see how this goes. And then out of nowhere, money literally drops out of the sky. Somebody will be like, oh, Jamie, here's this $1,000. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't do nothing for this $1,000. Like, how did this come? And I know that's my ancestors. Like, we're taking care of you. We're at the point now where the things that this COVID time has given us time to think and breathe and get back into our bodies, if we took the opportunity to do that. And if we understand our ancestors, we understand that we're good. I'm not telling you to not wear your mask, not to do all the protocols that they're saying. I'm saying that understand that you're walking with a greater power than COVID, Corona, Trump, ever have.
Yes. And I just want to speak also to the metaphor to like bring it back, like the like I resonate 100%, like the circularity and like understanding that anything that you enter, it's a container. And when I was speaking of like the realm of the dance, I wasn't speaking of these specific forms. And I want everyone to know that when you go into a specific form, you are entering a circle, you're entering a container. And with anything, with a form, with yourself, there are layers of multidimensionality. And in the Western mind, it is very like literal. It is taught to be like on the surface, and nothing is actually there. There is nothing on the surface. It's these different layers and the metaphors and the symbolism. Life is symbol. It is all symbolism. And so Jamie, like what you said, like really like lit me up about like you like the metaphors and like the things written into a song where you don't even, the person doesn't even know that it's about them, because there's all these layers and codes. And for me as a songwriter, that's something that like my songs always come through in metaphor. They always come through in symbolism. There's like 4 or 5 different meanings inside of that one song, and that's that ancestral wisdom and that key, those multi-dimensional layers of like, if you're just trying to understand anything for the face value, you're not understanding that mostly everything that is of importance and impact inside of that thing is in the unseen, is in the invisible realms. And so when you're entering any technique, the reason why tradition, I feel personally, is so important, and elder like engagement is so important, is to help you to open your eyes to those through lines of that invisible nature. And then the same thing in regards to working just with yourself and on like your like who am I, and the multidimensionality of who I am. It's like
the multiverse of self.
Taking a step back from that surface layer to go deeper into what are all these other things, and then becoming unapologetic for your multiplicity, and and not feeling like you need to explain that.
Yes.
And not just the elders, but the children, which is, you know, what you're talking about, Trinity, is not even a circle, it's a spiral. Because it's never ending.
It's never ending. Yep.
It's never ending. It's something that's continuous and is going to keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's never going to stop. And this is what has happened and how we all ended up in the spaces that we're inside of. And not just honoring the elders, but understanding the children's connection as well, too. A lot of times we leave children out of spaces, forgetting that they're way more powerful than us.
Right, and forgetting the circular,
their returned ancestors.
Yeah,
you know,
their return in the like bridge. Okay, so the yoni, the electric slide to the universe, as I would call it. Like, okay, so how powerful is that? The wisdom of something that just came out of that portal. that is like so close to that gate, that is so close to that memory and like that knowingness. How powerful is that? And I always tell people, I'm like, a wisdom circle is not complete without the wisdom of a child. Even just having a baby in a space and watching how they move and watching when they cry, listening for when they cry or when they whine or anything in relationship to what the adults are talking about, that is so powerful. And I feel like I can only speak for what I'm seeing in the United States, but I feel like we're nowhere near close to where we need to be in regards to honoring the voices of children and elders in the main focal point of conversation of how the energy of the space and the culture should move.
It has to start in your homes, right? Because Bámbula, and correct me if I'm wrong, Beto, Kalinda, all these martial forms are intergenerational.
Yes.
You don't. Nobody teaches you. You know what I mean? It's something
you're just living inside of it.
Yeah, you're growing up in it. Literally, you're learning. You're watching your mother cook and do different things. You're seeing them move with plants and heal people. They're drawing bush tea. You're playing cricket. You're playing hopscotch. These are all Kalinda things. So when I was growing up doing these things, I had no idea. I was just having fun as a kid. And then I moved back to Trinidad 5 years ago, and I'm like, oh shit! Like all of this is connected.
Exactly. And that's
I've been doing this my whole life and I didn't even realize. I've been climbing trees and doing all this crazy stuff. I'm like, I had no idea. Like, it was preparing me for this moment. So we miss those little things because, you know, sometimes we intellectualize stuff too much. You know, it's simple. You know, without having children in the midst, there are certain things we will never learn. Children don't need to be taught all the time. They learn by watching us.
And
they're watching what's happening in the space. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
After they go practice right away. You know what I mean? When you're out playing with your friends, that's what's happening. But that's how Kalinda is played. We don't go, okay, so we're gonna dance now if we're doing bomba. You know, you hear the drums, you hear some singing, and you start to dance. It just happens. It's not because it's your spirit that is activating. We're activating, and if we understand spirit activation, we don't need none of stuff. You know?
Yes.
I like that term, the activation.
Trinity talked about activating those memories that are inside of us in our DNA, and for me, that's Bámbula. Calenda also, you know, is sort of synonymous. You know, it's tapping on that memories. It's the reconnection, the remembrance of that connection. You know, so
yes.
I want to give something that I want to talk about Coco Ballet, but I want to give ¿cómo se dice? Una historia, a history, a story, a real true story, you know, about energies in the batey, in the space of dancing. I met my wife on a bomba dance. And on that bomba dance, I was singing a song that says, estoy buscando un árbol que me dé sombra, porque el que tengo calor a mí me da. I'm looking for a tree for that gives me shadows, because the one that I have is giving me heat. So that's sort of the translation. And it's a double meaning song. You know, the song is about looking for a partner, because the relationship that I have right now is not working out. You know what?
That's magic.
When you tap into those energy with the right intention, things happen. And that night I met my wife, and we're almost 15 years married.
So you manifested. You manifested the song.
So those things happen when we are in the right symphony, in the right space. You know?
Yeah.
It was a part of our tradition after being a child. Sorry, Alexandra.
Oh, I would like to add just really quickly here for those of you who are watching. I know there's a lot of people watching. Please do ask your questions. We do have a good amount of time still left in this panel, and this conversation has been on fire. It's been awesome. This is why we have panels. This is why we have Africa Week, to have these conversations and to light things up. And I also just want to say, I'm there as someone who was born from dancing parents, raised as an artist and a dancer, and got seriously injured, and to be in this space of like trying to find that for myself again and finding out how to move in a body that doesn't feel like mine right now. This is the most healing conversation that I think I could be like this. I feel like my body is healing in this conversation, just listening. So thank you. I just want to say thank you, and I'll continue to thank you. But I just wanted to express gratitude right now because it feels really good.
So this is not something very deep, but I think you said something about something light. I think Trinity, you mentioned the electric slide. Did you mention that?
Yeah.
You all know that that's an African dance.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was created in Jamaica.
Yeah. I was talking about the electric slide to the universe, which is our vaginas, the yoni.
Oh, there you go. Okay. No, because a lot of people.
African dance, same things, all African dance.
Same.
The first human to walk the earth, her name was Nivinini in my tradition, Nivinini, and that was the first human, and it was a woman. Mm-hmm. So yes, definitely, it was an African woman, Nivinini.
I'm so glad that you're saying this. Say it again. I'm sorry. I feel like I had a bad connection.
More time.
Tell us one more time.
What?
Yes.
What you said? The first woman? What? The first human to walk the earth? What?
They, the Europeans, they call her, I think, what is it, Lucy or something like that. But her real name was Nivinini.
Mm-hmm. The Great Mother.
Yes, the Great Mother, and from her, we all are Nivinini's offsprings.
Yes.
So that's one thing that really, really ties us together.
She gave me a song on the solar eclipse. I think it was 3 years ago now. The solar eclipse that came through the West Coast. I was in a ceremony and a meditation in trance, and I met with her, and she gave me a song. And so, yes, I feel you.
I'd love to hear it.
Yes, if there's time, I will share it. It's short.
Cool.
Can I?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I actually want to share a song too. So this will be the song sharing segment.
Let's do
that now.
It's called Livantre, and I also just want to okay, Jamie, I just need to be your friend. Like everything you just light me up. But
I'm here for that.
When you're talking about like English and like the need for us to stop speaking in English, a lot of times I receive songs in what I call light language, which is these like hard languages, these dead languages that like you can't really be traced. And so this song is called Livantre, and it's part in English and part in this other language that I don't know where it comes from. But this comes from the Great Mother.
What we're gonna do is, because if it came to you in this life, that means it can be traced.
Yes.
I want you to keep that in your heart and mind and spirit, that it can be. We just haven't found it yet.
Yes, thank you. I love that. And so it is. We're going to figure out where it comes from. Yep. So I'll sing this song. I'll just sing it through. It's a mantra song, so it can be looped, but I'll just sing it through like one time or something.
Sure.
Okay. Great Mother, can you hear me? Great Mother, are you there? Great Mother, I know you'll hear me. Great Mother, I know you care. Livontre, 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 livontre. I am eternal, 'cause I come from my mother, and she comes from her mother, and we live through our daughters. Livontre, 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 livontre.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. It sounds so funny because Livandre sounds like lavwe to me, and lavwe,
Lavwe.
yeah, lavwe in French means voice. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And in Creole, it translates as chorus, but usually when we're teaching it, we explain it as the voice. The voice inside of Kalinda is the chantuel. So the chantuel is the one who is kind of the griot of song. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, so I'm gonna teach you a live way, and I actually was gonna sing. Maybe I'll teach you two because they're short. So we'll sing two of them. All right. So the first one is coming to heart and mind, so I have to follow that in spirit. I'll sing that one first. So I'll sing the response, so you'll hear it, and then you'll catch on. Yeah.
Okay.
Send the obia, send all the obia you buy for me. Send the obia you buy for me. I done born in the cemetery. Send the obia, send all the obia you buy for me. Send the obia you buy for me. I done born in the cemetery. Send the
Send the
obia,
obia. Send the
send the
obia.
obia you
Where
buy
you
for
buy a
me.
tree.
I think I'll delay. Yep. So it's
Wow.
saying that thing that I was talking about, that bravery, right? I
Mm-hmm.
so bad, I so deadly that you could send whatever magic you done buy, because my magic I didn't have to buy. I have it inside of my body. And I so dread that I done born inside the cemetery. I born with the dead people in them. My ancestors are parts of me. So anything that you could do, you can't do. I'm completely unstoppable. So I wanted people to feel that and walk with that, and our people intentionally to feel that with all that's going on in the world right now. The
Mm-hmm.
other one, um, oh God, some. So this one is the response is coming down, coming down,
Coming down.
coming down, coming down, coming down, coming down,
Coming
right?
down.
Coming down. Rosie, coming down
Coming
with a
down.
bunch of roses, coming down.
Coming
Coming
down.
down.
Rosie,
Coming
Coming down.
down.
with a bunch of roses,
Coming
Coming
down.
down.
Rosie,
Coming
Coming
down.
down.
with the gold and silver,
Coming
Coming
down.
down.
Rosie,
Coming
Coming
down.
down.
sweet, sweet Rosie.
Coming
Coming
down.
down.
And it's that song is dedicated to women, right? Inside of Kalinda. So there were songs that were made up with women in Kalinda all the time. And Sophie Belly in particular was understood as a king, right? Inside of Kalinda, because she was one of the organizers, one of the people that pushed it through in a certain way. So I just wanted to come back to that point, since we were talking about the first human that walked the earth and that woman vibe and energy, and us
Mm-hmm.
understanding the posturing of our power inside of space, the posturing of our body inside of space when we're using it, and today when it's just being looked at as a sexual thing, that sexuality, that power of sex can be used in a way to actually save our people. You know, it's not something that is just for lying down. When two people lie down and have sex, you make a baby. That's the ultimate magic.
Hmm.
You made a whole human being. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
serious. You know what I mean? And then that
Mm-hmm.
woman then sits and carries that baby for 9 months. A whole people can't even do stuff for 9 days. You know, 9 months I'm holding a whole nother human being that's growing inside of my body. And then I expel that human being out into the world, you know,
Yes.
and we have to, you know, I wouldn't even label myself like a feminist. Like I'm a woman, you know, and I understand life. I understand how life works, like the creation of life. I understand how restoration of life works. I understand that. So if I am literally covered in the blood of my mother when I come out, there's nothing that I would not do for that mother
Yes.
and any reflection of her. But we as women also have to then honor that space, and we have to walk inside that power, because people are going to tell it, because we're sitting, you know, in patriarchal systems still. And in those patriarchal systems, we have to remember we didn't come from that.
Mm-hmm.
The women in Africa were the traders. They're the ones who handle the money, the weapons, everything. There was a reason things were done that way. And as I honestly feel like one of the reasons we are in the situation that we're in because we've forgotten that tradition. And it's not a thing of one person being in power. It's a shared power. It's understanding that there's a plug and an outlet. One can't work without the other.
Like, no.
We can't make the electricity. You know what I mean? It can't happen that way. So I'm very grateful for this conversation. Thank y'all so much.
Friends,
Me too.
we have about
Yes.
10 minutes left. And in the tradition of Africa Week 2020, we asked for pledges. And those pledges, I emailed this to you, but just in case you didn't see it, the pledges can just be what you're already doing, you know, just like stating it, something you're already doing, or it could be something that you're inspired from in this panel. I think you all got that email. So we asked for pledges, and part of it also too is because people are going to want to know, like they want to know what you're up to. You know, that they're going to want, you know, what is Treneti doing? She said she had the CD, and now we want to know where is she at with that, right? So if we could go through, and knowing that we just have 10 minutes left, if everybody could say what their pledges are coming out of this panel, and then we'll do a goodbye. I'm sad to say we will do a goodbye for now, a farewell for now.
Well, I can start. I pledge to continue to uphold the traditions of Kalinda, and not just Kalinda, but all little African babies all over the world, African elders all over the world, my brothers and my sisters, and to live inside of a space of harmony that represents that culture, that tradition, that life force that we all came here with.
Yes.
Thank you.
Woman first.
Oh, okay. Okay. I pledge to continue empowering and activating voices, to continue empowering and activating dormant wisdom locked in the DNA of all of the brothers and sisters who come to me, who feel inspired to come to me to unlock these things. And I pledge to continue to deepen my connection to my ancestors and my future ancestors, the children that have yet to be born, through this multidimensional timeline that we are all presently riding the wave of.
Yes,
Simbi.
yes, that's it.
So I pledge to keep the Bámbula alive the best that I can, and also to keep the Coco Ballet, which is the Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Boricua martial tradition of the Maroons. That is also connected to Calenda and to all the other manifestations of this martial tradition in the Caribbean and the Americas. And Bomba, which is the Bámbula, that's also have different manifestations, so there's a parallel there. So I'm here to share whatever I have with everyone. You can find me in Facebook in Taller Bambule for the drums that I make, and Proyecto Coco Ballet for the martial tradition.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you,
Oh,
Carlos.
can I just say that you can find us on Bois Academy of Trinidad and Tobago on Facebook and Instagram. And I actually, which I didn't talk about at all, which is fine, but I have another company, which is my company and the founder of Art on Purpose. So you can look for Art on Purpose on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Amazing.
Bois Academy is BOIS Academy of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes,
Just
the French way of spelling bois, not the phonetic Creole way. Thank you, Carlos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's that. Yeah. First, I really want to thank everybody in this panel. This was really amazing. It's been an amazing day, but this panel in particular has been really enrichful, uplifting. Everybody had major contributions in this panel, and my soul is glowing with amazing light right now. Yeah, and I'm super grateful. So my pledge is to keep putting building blocks on this bridge that we're building together, and keep mixing, sand, water, earth, to finish this bridge someday. That's my pledge. So I'm thankful, most of all. Yeah.
Okay.
My pledge is to keep dancing and to keep providing the platform for these conversations, Africa Week 2020. This doesn't happen with a click of a finger. This is something that takes a lot of work. So my continuation with that, and also to continue on the dance journey that has been the most daunting journey recently. So to continue that journey.
Yes. By the way, I have an announcement, because this panel has been driven by this feminine force so much that I have to announce that after this panel, we're gonna have the edutaining part with Grupo Ausuba. Is a all-female group, all-female bomba group from Puerto Rico, directed by one of the most amazing humans that I know. Her name is Marian Torrens. So please check it out. It'll be powerful and full of this amazing feminine creativity that we all need and cherish. So yeah.
Yes, thank you everyone for being here. I'm going to release you because I'm going to do a couple more announcements in the next 5 minutes. You don't need to stay for the announcements if you don't want to.
Before can I tell you something, Alexandra?
Yes.
Just with the pledge that you said, I wanted to remind you of what I said about Kalinda and being beautiful in the face of destruction. So while you might feel like your body is not your own right now, it's not, because it's evolving.
Yeah.
Not because it's destroyed. It is in a space of transition and evolution. I'm telling you that from my experience with my own body. My body is stronger now than it was before that accident. In the Dagara system in Africa, real quick, one of the traditions, there are all these different elements. My mentor is an initiate of it. And she shared with me when I had the accident, they have something when you're initiating into earth, they do this ceremony called the breaking of the bones. Your bones literally break. And it said at that point, at the bones breaking, the ancestors are putting in information. So right now, they put information into you, baby. That's all going on.
Oh,
you know what I mean? So right now, receive from that place and dance, be beautiful in the face of the destruction, of the chaos, and of the death of the old Alexandra and the new birth that's happening for you.
Woo! Yeah.
Yes.
It's a mic drop right there.
I want to be your student too, man.
Come through, Beto. Come through.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have Puerto Rico 2021, and so now it's Trinidad 2022. Okay, we're putting this on the schedule.
Hey.
I like it. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
You too.
Messy.
Bye, everybody. Bye. We love you. Bye. Oh my God.
They're here.
Asuma's here. Beto, you go do what you need to do, and I'll send you a link in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm setting up the girls because they're playing here.
I'm so excited for that.
Ausuba.
I'm gonna keep it now. We're still live, so I'm gonna keep bringing people.
Wait, check this out. Ausuba.
Yes. What? Ausuba? Yes, we're so excited. Okay,
I'm gonna set up some mics, and then I'll be ready. All right?
Okay, yes. We'll see you soon, Beto.
Cool.
Bye. All right, announcements. Everyone who's still with us on the feed, please remember after this feed ends to come see our Suba, to come dance. They're going to play some music for us. It's going to be juicy. Please remember to refresh your page after this feed ends, or else you won't be able to find it. I have a couple announcements about Africa Week 2020. For those of you who are new, please go to our website, our brand new website that just opened at www.africaweek2020.com. And also remember, this is a labor of love. Nobody gets paid for this. It's put on by two people, Dima Mahmoud and myself. Today's event was supported by Beto Torrens. We need your help. This is how you can help us. Go to our page, Africa Week 2020, and like and follow and share. Bring people in. Our events are participant driven. So like all the people that you see, a friend brought them in because they liked our events. They're like, I want to come and talk about this. I want to come talk about agriculture. Today happens to be all about storytelling, creative arts, and dance. But if you go and look at our website and you'll see the archives, we had all sorts of agriculture, tech, business, masculinity of the Black man, activism, cooking. Yes, if you want to bring and teach cooking, yes, we will do it. We have a big September event coming up next month. If you have anything within you that says, I want to put a panel together, I want to do this interview, I want to amplify this voice, I want to tell people about this thing we're doing, the answer is yes. Stay in contact with us, please. Please share our page. Come like and follow our page. Do sign up on the mailing list so you can get access to the archive of events and so you can be the first to know about things. That's all on our website, africaweek2020.com, and also starting to show up on our Facebook page. Thank you for being here. And remember, at the end of the day, we have a couple more events. We have Ausuba playing, and then we have Black Woman, I Promise You, a tribute from 13 or 14 poets that are just tributes to Black women. After that, we'll have Family Hour. So you can come and we'll give you a link and you can come and talk and express and say hello. This is starting to be the tradition we do at the end of every single event that we have. So please stick around, refresh your page. My name is Alexandra Loves. I don't think I said that. My name is Alexandra Loves. Welcome to Africa Week. If you're new, welcome back, family. If you've been here before, mwah, I love you all. Okay, bye-bye.